Hello and welcome to the All About X-Men Comics podcast, where you'll find recaps and reviews of all the most recent X-Men comics, as well as previews for upcoming issues. Please keep in mind this will include spoilers and adult language. I'm host Scorpio Moon, proud mutant ally, and hosting with me is...
Johnny Alpha, and I just really want to get my hands on some of that mutant growth hormone. That shit sounds like it's awesome.
Okay, so our first book up is Uncanny X-Men 19 Now. The X-Men are going to war with S.H.I.E.L.D. eventually. The fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. has Sentinels should be enough reason to go to war with them, and S.H.I.E.L.D. is after Cyclops, but this issue is still kind of the prequel to that event. Hijack gets picked up by S.H.I.E.L.D. almost immediately, just like I knew he would, from being expelled from the new Xavier school. But like Johnny Alpha you called, Maria Hill knows damn well that Cyclops knew this was going to happen, and he's playing at some kind of a game.
Right, and the way she menacingly played with Hijack, dude, it was really cruel. It was kind of like dominatrixy of her. She's just like, we have to have this conversation. We have to. And if you lie to me, I have to punish you. And I'm just like, you are just a mean little Nazi witch, ain't you, Maria? Damn.
Yeah, man, she enjoyed that. She's like, if I'm going to walk into a trap, I guess I'm going to make the most of it.
Right. I mean, she was sinister. I mean, there was hand-wringing, and she was like putting on full theatrics to scare David as much as she possibly could with that conversation. So, I mean, honestly, if he doesn't get back into school after this is all done, man, I'm going to at least lose a little bit of respect for Cyclops.
Damn, man, damn. Speaking of Cyclops, he walks into a bit of a trap himself. He thinks he's following a mutant signal, but walks into a squad of Sentinels. There's a big one, and then a bunch of them, like green, ghosty ones again. And I guess he decides that this is too much for his kids. But there's not much you can do about it, because these Sentinels are also equipped with power dampeners that can shut down at least some of their powers. Not all of them, but at least the powers they can shut down seem to be specifically set to certain X-Men who are going to be there. Luckily, magic sorcery is not necessarily a mutant power, so she can still fight them, and they didn't know Tempest's power yet, so Tempest can throw up a bubble and protect the rest of the team. So the two of them kind of work together using their abilities in tandem to save the day. And I guess save the day is really all they can pull off, because once again, battling Sentinels right out in public makes the mutants all look, bad in the public eye, and you even literally have a scene where all the humans are like, you damn dirty muties just bring destruction everywhere you go, get out of here, go to hell. And Cyclops at the end of the issue once again is just raging pissed.
Right, yeah, I mean, we're getting to see a little more of the Magneto psych that's budding, which was pretty cool. And you kind of skipped one of my favorite little parts of this issue. It was like really small and nonchalant, but I really liked the exchange between Cyclops and Tempest before they headed out on the mission. She's so infatuated with him that she's nervous and shy, and she was trying to tell him that like she grew up accidentally in that last training event, but she's got the hots for him and stuff, so she wasn't able to spit it out. I thought that was a very clever little exchange that Bendis had with those two characters. I don't know how anybody can miss that her hair is like 5 times longer than it was when they left, but I guess like he's too busy setting up traps for S.H.I.E.L.D. to realize that like, yeah, dude, girls' hair do not grow that fast.
It almost could kind of been a nice setup for a romantic scene too. Dim lighting and the Cerebro kind of lights. It almost kind of looks like one of those stargazing kind of things or something. That totally could have been a romantic scene, but maybe because this is a point now issue and it's supposed to be jumping on-ish or whatever, it seems like they actually touch on a lot of plot points here. Because they bring back the spooky-looking Sentinels, they bring back the mystery villain wearing the bubble helmet that's controlling everything, they keep momentum going on the S.H.I.E.L.D. arc, they keep the what the hell happened to Tempest storyline going, and they also touch on the fate of Agent Dazzler, who is right now being held completely blindfolded, ears plugged, tied up, and kidnapped by Mystique and Sabretooth, and they're using her as their source of mutant growth hormone.
And how great was it to actually see Sabretooth, the way we actually like him, just completely idiotic, you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing, boss, kind of guy, That's how I recognize the guy. Him with his tuxedo and his ponytail, I'm never going to be used to that in the other book.
One of my last kind of little points here, I think, was that it's kind of funny to see how she sees Dazzler as like a race traitor for being willing to work with S.H.I.E.L.D., which is pretty much how Magneto sees her for being willing to sell mutant growth hormone.
I kind of see Mystique's point. I don't see how any of the X-Men should be able to look her in the face, working with S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff, but I think Mystique is a bit of an extremist, and, of course, she's going to take things too far. And like any extremist, they're just hypocrites. They're on the other side of that extreme, so, like Dazzler and her are faces of a coin, there's two of them.
I think it kind of fits into, why you see, like, so many different tribes of mutants, as Cable was described them in X-Force previously. It's because even though, okay, mutant is a race, but it's kind of like, what was that old South Park joke about how, like, Jesse Jackson is not the emperor of black people? There's not, like, an emperor of mutant, though. They can still be completely diverse. They're not going to necessarily all want to group together and see things the same way with that us versus them mentality. But yeah, man, as far as me and my breaking points, I'm actually kind of letting this one slide a little bit on the .19, point now, number one / blah blah, whatever. I don't know. I mean, I thought it was all around a pretty good issue. So like, I don't really have it in my heart to like make fun of it. And Goldballs did put on a new uniform for it.
Yeah, he's finally got himself like an X-Men uniform, which just looks completely weird on a chubby Latino guy. And, oh, my balls are broken, some lines in this issue. I mean, of course, it was there for levity, but I mean, like, it kind of really brought the scene up, because there was some really serious stuff going on, and, like, him and my balls are broken. Oh, my balls are working again, and him is just, like, wording, It's just like, Fabio's just a great character.
Okay, so what do you think, man? Thumbs up or thumbs down, and buy it or skip it?
Thumbs up, dude. This was just such an awesome issue. It really brought back some of the stuff that we were really into before Battle of the Atom happened, and we kind of wanted to get back to it, so I'm really psyched about that. I really liked what they brought about with what's going on with Daz. That was a bit tragic, but it was cool to see that, they didn't kill her. She's still a variable here. The only thing is, it was so good, it seemed like it was really short, kind of like that one issue of the Brian Wood X-Men. But I'm still going to say buy it. This was one hell of an issue. It was badass.
Yeah, I'm going to go thumbs up. For a series that's kind of just a series of one-shots, they do a really great job of continuing the overall story, especially here, taking the time to touch on so many things and keeping up the momentum while doing it. So I'll go buy it because there's plenty enough there to be worth your money. Now next up is Wolverine and the X-Men number 2, where we see that Wolverine has learned his lessons since Killable and wisely seeks the counsel of his closest friends and allies instead of running off angrily to confront things on his own.
No, that's not what happened. He basically got forced to stop and, like, listen to Storm. I mean, she actually, like, shocked him, and he was, please, Ro, don't do it again, and stuff. It was hilarious, man. So it's like, yeah. And I like the whole analogy, the way that this guy writes the breakdown with Storm's words, he's running away. It's what he does. I really liked that about this issue. It was really cool at the beginning of this. The breakdown of how, like, they're actually seeing the way he acts now. He runs. That's what he does. I thought that was kind of a cool thing to touch on. But I mean, like, Wolverine actually gets to be pretty badass in this issue, so.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was totally just bullshitting the fuck around, but Wolverine basically sees, Wolverine sees this Phoenix Corporation, and he's like, how dare they take Jean's name in vain? And obviously, you name a corporation, Phoenix Corporation, and blast your emblem out worldwide all over screens everywhere, and you're going to get the attention of certain people. So yeah, Wolverine wants to go run off and just be all hot-headed and confront it himself, and like it's totally the kind of Wolverine you remember, the hot-headed, angry, I'll do it all myself guy. And like you said, Storm just puts a giant lightning bolt in front of him. She's like, no, fuck this, dude. If this is what it takes for you to listen, so be it. And they kind of have it out a little bit. And they've done this a lot lately where you try and have like someone sit down with Wolverine and like read him the riot act. But this is the first one I've really seen, or at least one of the old ones I've seen recently, that's actually been any good. The writer actually handles it with some respect for the characters involved. He's careful to make sure that, as the reader, you understand that Wolverine does these things, I guess, kind of out of love. Running off is his way of keeping the battle away from his friends and family. That's just kind of what Wolverine does. That's his kind of way of expressing his emotions, almost. So the conversation actually has some truth in it. Like Wolverine's just like, damn, like going out and stabbing things is like one of the only things I bring to the table. I've got to go do this. And Storm puts it back in his face, like, no, you don't. You've got the school now, you've got people, and you act like you're the only person in the world that cared about Jean Grey. She was like my sister. They actually have it all out, and it's actually a good conversation.
I liked it a lot, too. I thought that, yeah, this guy, he's really, really bringing this series about, in my opinion, dragging it out from being a kids' table comic.
Yeah, man, and once again, when you put the whole Phoenix thing out there, like I said, you get certain people's attention. The other person's attention you get is Quentin Quire, who does...
I'm going to have to start calling him Quentin Crier, man, if he keeps up like this, man. I swear to God. I mean, whatever happened to the guy that tried to take the school over and had it on lockdown in the Grant Morrison years? I mean, man, my point of contention with this issue is, like, they really Andrew Lincolned him out in this issue, man. He ran away and just was crying behind a dumpster and stuff. I'm like, what is this, like the AMC version of Quentin Quire?
Well, I almost kind of thought what he was doing was the same thing Wolverine was trying to do. Like, he went and he stormed off to go take it on himself. He knows that he's destined to become a host for the Phoenix, and these Phoenix people go and basically call him out. And he just, he grabs a bamf and strolls right up to their little castle, their little henchman hideout or whatever. And he's like, all right, you jerkwads, here I am. What's so important?
Eventually, but first he goes to a Wendy's type place and, like, talks about how badass the Wendy's girl is because she wrestles cows and stuff like that, and, like, she's way stronger than he'll ever be. And another thing that really ticked me off is Ide being a complete tool to Hisako. Honestly, dude, Armor has been through some shit. Dude, she's been on some missions. She was there in the mansion when it got destroyed by that crazy dinosaur thing during Messiah Complex, where, like, all kinds of the mutant X-Men Academy kids just got butchered by that thing. So, like, they could get all up in her face and be all snotty like that. I thought that was just kind of a stupid move, and I liked it when Hisako was about to throw down with her. I was like, damn you, little fucking Apocalypse kid, man. I wanted to see that fight. Just like, let's try to make the two characters that we've forced down your throat this entire series since Jason Aaron's regurgitated these characters from the Grant Morrison years, and yeah, we're just going to make them be complete Walking Dead TV show style idiots in this episode, where they just whine and cry about everything and start pointless arguments.
I didn't really get where a lot of it was coming from.
Yeah,
also,
Wolverine paints targets on people's backs. I'm like, no, you're X-Men. You live in the Jean Grey Academy. Back when that shit was just the Xavier School, I don't even know how many times that building's got torn down and had to be rebuilt. I mean, I remember, like, in a single, like, story arc, they were rebuilding it, and it got blown up again, you know what I mean? So, I mean, that thing is like a total Death Star. So, I mean, the fact that it's been that long since it's actually gotten destroyed again, she has nothing to cry about, man, you know what I mean? Them kids are living fine right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you're a mutant. You were born with the target on your back. So, yeah, I just really didn't know it seemed like maybe it was just in there to kind of have that tweeny kind of school drama thing in it or whatever. Like, they just had to have a couple pages of it. And, like, they throw in a page there of Kid Apocalypse being jealous of Quentin Quire.
They're really playing up that he's going to become Apocalypse, and him and Quire are going to have to fight when Quire becomes a Phoenix, I guess. That's kind of what they're alluding to.
They keep showing that there's going to be evil Apocalypse again, and that's where the new villain comes in from. He's basically, like, related to the Ascani somehow, the Future Tribe, and he blames Wolverine, I guess, for raising a new Apocalypse, and he's come back to the past, and they've started up this company, and they, basically set up the trap or whatever for these guys, and when Quire almost kind of wanted to run off, just like Wolverine was going to, runs off and runs into it, this dude takes, like, a trip through his mind. He's been trained, and he's got those kind of powers, and Storm and Wolverine go try and bail him out. But this dude just basically owns all of them. He beats Wolverine in the fight. He gets into Storm's mind and does the claustrophobia thing on her. And that basically leaves us with our cliffhanger with, like, all three of them, like, basically knocked out.
Quentin Quire, not so much, though. He's getting carried around by the hot Phoenix nun, so he's kind of a little happy with this predicament.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, he's not unconscious or anything, but he's, like, kind of down for the count for the moment. Sexy nuns. But, yeah, man, thumbs up or thumbs down, and buy it or skip it.
I'm going to give this a thumbs up. These two issues so far have had more action than the entire Jason Aaron run on this title had before it. I'm not sure I like or even know where it's going, but I'm just happy that it is going somewhere finally. So, I'm not sold on actually recommending people to buy it yet because it might just fall apart in the second act. But for now, go ahead and wait and maybe check out the trade paperback for this. It might actually turn out to be something worth reading eventually.
I'm gonna go thumbs up. It seems like both the writer and the visual artist have a pretty good grasp on these characters. There are a lot of elements in play. We've got AVX things going on, Battle of the Atom things going on, the Ascana, the futures of Wolverine students, especially Quire and Kid Apocalypse. I still kind of really wish Killable wasn't the driving force behind what's going on here, but there's nothing really I can do about that. And I'll go with buy it. I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards get the trade with this series, but that conversation between Wolverine and Storm was just too good for me to recommend anything other than picking up the issue. Oh, yeah, and Quire shirts. Quire shirts of the week were 2 Apocalypse Now, and in the flashback scene, Days of the Future Pasta. Just had to throw that in there.
Right.
So last book for the reviews is X-Men number 12. Okay, so Muertos became Ghosts, became Who the Hell Cares, I guess. Just get this thing over with. We did technically get the 6-parter they promised out of it. I mean, it was 6 issues worth of whatever. For some reason, to me, still though, this particular issue almost read like a book that was abruptly canceled with how quickly they wrapped everything up.
Right. I mean, it really was. I didn't see it coming quite like that. I mean, it was just... I wouldn't want to say it's anticlimactic, because it was pretty badass the way it wraps up, but it kind of was like... I think it's because with what's going on with this Phoenix crap, Brian Wood's title's getting dragged into it, so that he's got to finish his storyline so he can share with some other asshole again, because it seems like that's what they keep doing with his title. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think you're right, man, because I looked it up, and the next story arc for X-Men is going to be revolving around Jubilee and the future of her son, Shogo, which, once again, I'm pretty sure all kind of ties into Battle of the Atom stuff, which is where Wolverine and the Archies is at right now.
Right. So I think that, yeah, editorially they came and they told him, like, we get it, Wood, you like this Archaea character and you want to have this grand story, but you can't, you know. This guy's doing important stuff with the X-Men. It's like, yeah, not really important, but whatever, man. Like, as long as Wood's still writing it, I'll still check it out. I don't know, I really like this issue still, though, even though it was kind of like a really quick tied bow on like a present that you know your dad just bought you 20 minutes before he showed up to your birthday party. It was still an awesome present, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, because the next point I was going to make, I mean, it's not without its epic moments. You've got the X-Men diving down through the sky, M-Tag's Enchantress back using almost full power, breaking her as much as she can without actually killing her. It's almost like a take that, puny goddess moment. But yeah, I mean, like Archaea, she goes from unstoppably powerful to barely a threat. Maybe you can, like, tell yourself that it's because the X-Men destroyed all those random pieces of her all over Earth and that sapped away her power spread somehow and it drained her and made her so stupid that she'd go to, like, the one place on Earth where she can't escape from if something happened. Maybe she had to go there for some reason to resurrect Pryor. Like, maybe they had to do it there for some reason, which, I mean, does still happen. But like I said, the X-Men find her at this base, they attack, and then I shit you not, they just convince everyone to leave.
Well, not everybody.
Well,
they kick the shit out of Typhoid Mary and Enchantress. But yeah, Madeline Pryor and Celine, they get like, you guys can just go. We'll battle later. You know what I mean? You don't need to be part of this because like they were totally just like, fuck you, Archaea. We ain't trying to be in your shit anyways, man. You know.
which I mean, I guess is at least kind of smart. But after all this build-up to, like, yeah, they're resurrecting Celine, they're resurrecting Madeline Pryor, who I guess is using Ann Cortez's old body. Now that Cortez killed herself, I think she died, and Deathstrike went into Rico's body and is sharing it with Archaea, and then Pryor, like, took over Cortez's body and, like, dyed her hair. And that's, like, the body she's inhabiting for the resurrection. But, I mean, yeah, like, you've got this dream team, and Storm just says, look, we're after Archaea, not you, so if you just leave, we'll fight another day. And then they do. Pryor's just like, yeah, alright, cool, I'll build my own sisterhood later.
And watch your back, Storm. Like, whatever, man. We just told you to leave. It was kind of like a really rush, kind of slapped together thing, but I thought it made enough sense for the scenario, you know what I mean?
And they build it into the conversation so you at least get it. You're not sitting there scratching your head confused, like, what just happened here? At least you understand, but I mean, they even kill Archaea with a magic bullet. Literally, basically a magic bullet that Sublime builds for them that says, here, this will kill my sister.
It's a very scientific, technology-based bullet. I know most people just say that magic science, it hasn't been proven yet, but I don't know. It was a scientific bullet that doesn't actually kill the person, it only kills the Archaea. It's very convenient. So, like, but Lady Deathstrike's still alive and the evil little Japanese girl, so I don't understand why they didn't just kill her, you know?
Yeah, they can shoot this girl in the head, and it'll only kill Archaea, leaving everybody else, because that's how scientifically targeted it is. Yeah, that's just really, really, really convenient. But it is pretty dark how much the X-Men taunt her before they shoot her in the head. It's like, hey, we're about to kill you. They tell her like 6 times.
Yeah, they hold her down and like, yeah, this kind of was like, right out of like a snuff film, man. Karima, she just goes right up and boosh, execution style, like Boondock Saints. She just didn't say the prayer.
Yeah, man, that's all that was missing was the Boondock Saints prayer. It's like, there you go. And then at the end, Karima decides that she's gonna leave with Shepard and join his team instead.
Which, I mean, like, I get, they can only have one hot Middle Eastern girl in this X-Men team, you know? Like, 2 would just be too much. It's like how Walking Dead can only have, like, one main black cast member.
Man, you're all about The Walking Dead tonight. Did you, like, catch up on Netflix or something while you were waiting for me to get ready for the recording?
No, just everybody was, like, commenting on it, and I just saw so many memes on Facebook when I was waiting for you, and it's just pounded in there.
Oh, yeah, right. Look at the flowers and all that. Yeah, the last episode was pretty popular and pretty meme-friendly. But, yeah, so maybe something else that affected this is the fact that they started adding in the secondary story to the end of every issue, like halfway through. And when we revisit that, we see Jubilee reappears somewhere else in the Sentinel battle, which is kind of a big pet peeve for me because the cliffhanger made it seem like she had trouble reforming after she transported. But, like, basically all that happened is she just didn't nail the landing and she came back somewhere else. It's the worst kind of cliffhanger because it's a fake one. You can immediately resolve your cliffhanger and that's okay. But, like, the resolution is, fooled ya. She wasn't even ghosted.
I don't know, it didn't really bug me because, I don't know, I have a lot of fun with that segment. I like that Quire was able to get the one Sentinel to blow the other 2 Sentinels up, and the kind of chicks perving out on Helion. I thought that was actually kind of funny for once, you know, in a comic. And I like that they finally got the beef between Roxy and Mercury out of the way, you know, because that was like kind of lame. So glad that's over with.
Well, even that seemed to wrap up a little quickly, too. I mean, that goes back to the very first issue of the series. And then 12 issues later, here they are, like, in the water together after the fight and, like, saving each other's asses. And, I mean, we all knew that there was something going on where Roxy was probably coming on a bit strong and that she probably kind of earned getting punched in the face a little bit. But I guess what we find out is she was just leaving her, like, creepy love letters all over the place and shit. Like, you know, I don't know what they said, like, I love you, Mercury, let's go lick each other or something. I don't know, like, but but it's like basically it all just kind of comes down to that. I guess they do agree that they're gonna like maybe go out or something, but it just happens so like kind of quick. It's kind of like, okay, cool, that's over too.
I didn't really care for that side story, so I didn't care how it got wrapped up as long as it did, you know.
Right. So okay, do we cover this one then?
Yeah.
So, thumbs up or thumbs down, and buy it or skip it?
I'm going to give this a thumbs up. It really seems that, like, the editorial team kind of came to Brian Wood and told him, you know, we got another thing that we're going to have to invade your book with, so you got to finish the storyline soon. And he did. He put it, like I said, it was a cheap present, but it was an awesome one, you know? It was like, it wasn't wrapped very well and stuff like that, but it was still like a cool-ass present. So I'm going to say get the trade paperback for this, though. It's not really worth getting this issue.
I've got to go thumbs down. It just ended way too abruptly and way too conveniently for me. I mean, it was shiny, and it was fun. I liked it, but it really didn't do much for me story-wise. So it pains me to say it, but I'm just going to go with skip it, at least as far as the individual issue. You can really just say to yourself, and then everything was over, the end. And you won't really have missed anything. Speaking of endings, there are a lot of them coming up in the previews. First up, A plus X number 18, the last issue. Woohoo!
Oh, really? I was gonna bring that up because I knew we were gonna be previewing it. Of all the books, the weird, quirky books that popped up when Marvel Now started, like Mobius, Living Vampire, and Alpha Big Time and stuff, those were kind of fun, and they had their own thing, and I always wondered why A plus X was still going, but now I see that, they just had this one last story that they wanted to push out, so, I'm not gonna miss it.
Yeah, man, me neither. This is just celebration time for me. As far as what's happening in A plus X number 18, they still have to finish up the Cyclops, Captain America thing that's going on for way too long already.
Yeah, I figured that after they fight the S.H.I.E.L.D. guys, that some sharks are going to show up and try to eat the Skrulls. They're just keep making villainous creatures that are going to try to kill these special Skrulls.
Yeah, man, just keep piling them on. Think of another one.
Giant alligators, just go Sci-Fi Channel with it. Fucking zombie beavers.
So yeah, they've got to do that, and then it was all over the solicits that it was going to be Kitty and Vision for the last team up. And it was supposed to be put together by Brian Bendis and Kevin Nolan. So you'd think, wow, Bendis for the last issue, okay, cool. But then according to his Twitter and Tumblr, he's not working on it anymore. It's still all over the solicits that's going to be this issue, so maybe the solicits just didn't get updated. Or maybe they're still using his script, but someone else is filling in the rest of the dialogue?
That might actually be what's happening. But I mean, honestly, dude, for weeks we thought we were going to get Iron Man and Brew, and then, boop, it's Psylocke and Spider-Man out of nowhere, and then, we got the Brew and Iron Man the next issue. It's just, the solicits for this book in particular are always a bit screwy.
Yeah, so what a perfect way to go out on. Okay, so we also get all new X Factor number 5. And we're going to meet a new company called Techno Inc. I guess another rival for our homeboy Serval. We still have to introduce Cypher and Warlock to the team, so maybe this will be the Warlock issue?
I hope so. I love that character, so I can't wait to see him in a kind of a cool series because I really like the Dan Abnett New Mutants run that predated the Marvel Now, so I was actually kind of hoping that there'd be a New Mutants comic, but I don't mind Warlock being in the X Factor. I think that'd be he'd be a really cool addition. Yeah,
man, this team just kind of keeps picking up interesting pieces, so I think that's definitely one to look forward to. We're also going to get Amazing X-Men number 5. Well, it is going to bring us the end of the first arc.
Oh, I thought it was going to 6 with this crap. Oh, thank God.
It's good news, man, because one more issue means one more issue closer to Jason Aaron being off the title, because he's leaving early.
Right, yeah, he has to go and write the all-important, what's that crap called that he's doing, the original Sin? Some kind of crap where the Watcher dies, and, Captain America and Wolverine have to be detectives or some shit. It sounds like something Jason Aaron would write, so...
If they found a way to keep him busy.
And then we are getting actual X-Men writers to take this book over. 2 very talented individuals who actually are responsible for bringing X-Force back, period, and wrote one of my favorite teeny X-Men books, New X-Men Academy, man. You want to drop the names?
Yeah, man, how it's actually going to break down is issue 6 is going to be Aaron's last. And then, there's some chick writer doing 7. I forget her name. She wrote the Pixie miniseries. So there'll be one more substitute writer for issue 7. And then starting by issue 8, I guess, we're going to get Craig Kyle and Chris Yost.
Pow, pow. Like I said, the men that are responsible for bringing X-Force back, period. Their run, I like a lot of the new incarnations, but their original X-Force run that they brought back with the Wolverine X-23 team was just such a gruesome, bloody, nasty comic. I just have high hopes for what these guys could actually do with this limp dick title.
Yeah, man, the first X-Force with Wolverine, the one with all the stabby, knifey characters. Think of those guys. Also the guys who brought you X-23. They're Inventor. This is good X-Men writers right here. This is definitely something to be happy about. And a little bit of an extra spoiler, they're going to be bringing Colossus back to the main X-Men.
Oh, sweet. So maybe Dom's going to be coming too.
Maybe, man, maybe. I just know that Colossus is one of their favorite characters. And that should be a nice little section to team up there, Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler all on your team. I can dig that.
Right.
We're also going to see the end of the trial of Jean Grey in Guardians of the Galaxy number 13. I still think it's kind of a shame that it ends here in a non-X-Men book. But I mean, we'll still get some of the fallout during All New, I suppose, so it's okay.
Right, yeah, there's going to be aftermath for this. It's going to be going on for a little while, so I don't know. I just want to see her fuck up some Shi'ar, so I mean, I don't care what battle it's in. I hope Gladiator gets his ass kicked pretty good.
Yeah, man, I got no love for them guys either, so let's see Jean Grey just get mad. Also ending is Marvel Knights X-Men with issue 5. And I'm kind of just glad it's ending. I mean, I flip-flopped on this one a couple times, so hopefully with this last issue I'll at least finally know what to make of it.
Yeah, I think that this one is going to be, like, stacked with, you know, the lessers. It'll be, like, in the pile with Phantom X Max and Night of the Living Deadpool.
But then moving back to the bright side, we get Savage Wolverine number 16. I think this story continues for at least one more issue after this one, but we should at least get to see some of if these boys can protect their sisters, and how long Wolverine's going to sit around this jail. I mean, he left those cops in the end, but maybe he just breaks out of the car before they even get to that.
Yeah, I got a feeling they're going to, like, stop somewhere and try to rough him up, and that's not going to go too well for him type of scenario.
Yeah, we know that the bad guys, like, already have their eye on him. So, like, you know, things have got to happen quickly here, but they left it in a perfect medium kind of cliffhanger.
Right. And, I mean, the way this arc's going, it's just, I don't know, it's so superb. So I'm pretty sure that this guy's not going to let us down.
Definitely one that I'm looking forward to. But then following right up after it is Origin 2 number 4. So far, it's been 3 issues of, like, nothing. And they're calling this issue the penultimate issue. I mean, penultimate...
I don't know how to tell people what Dean Winchester says about people that use the word penultimate.
Well, I mean, penultimate is just a fancy word for second to last. But doesn't it sound, like, much more meaningful, though? Like, a word that wouldn't describe anything in this series at all?
Yeah, dude, I mean, I see this maybe being like Homeward Bound, like I said, or maybe like a really kind of Last of the Dogmen style of Interview with a Vampire, you know? Not as much curly hair and lace, but like the two dudes and the one chick, you know, and like, you know, they're going to end up feuding with each other. And I don't know, this guy just seems to be ripping off classics, so I mean, like, why not Anne Rice? You know, he already did Rudyard Kipling with the Jungle Book for an issue or two. Did King Kong, you know?
At least Wolverine is talking now.
Yeah, run, help. Yeah, I think my cat says more words than him.
So yeah, maybe it'll be better as Homeward Bound the comic.
2 dogs and a cat trying to get somewhere. It's just, you love it. We got music by Randy Newman, Wolverine, yeah, I can hear it. It's going to be awesome.
Woohoo! Now we're all happy for Origin 2. Okay, maybe not really. But
So is this really like the second to last issue though, or did they just like not properly use the word penultimate?
I had to double check that one myself. For some reason I had it in my head that it was like a 6er. But no, it's only set for 5 issues.
Oh wow. Jesus, I thought we were gonna have to be reading this for like the rest of the time we do the show. That's actually good news.
Yeah, that is kind of encouraging to know that at least it's almost over with. But it's like, damn, they're really not going to do anything in this series at all, are they? Well, as long as he fights a giant spider in the last act.
If there's not a giant spider in this is just totally going to get a thumbs down and skip it.
Yeah,
wait, that's all it's gotten for me anyways. Never mind.
Yeah, you can't. You gotta have something to negotiate with there.
No leverage.
All right, so we'll also check in on Survive number 1. I guess the Ultimates. That's the title where the Ultimates are kind of kicking off their new chapter in that universe, and. I mean, you know what covers are worth, but it's got Storm in it, so we're going to want to see how much X-Men show up in that, so it'll maybe be worth a flip through.
Right, yeah, we'll look into it and let you guys know if it's worth reading at all.
And then last on the preview list is Uncanny Avengers number 18. So we had to deal with those All Avengers issues for a while. We got dealt All Avengers cards. But now it's going to be mostly X-Men, as they're all living on their own planet, and probably fighting about whether to go back in time and save Earth or not. I think Magneto actually makes his own X-Force to stop exactly that from happening. But of course, don't forget we also have Kang and his group of random villains from Time to deal with.
Right, and I mean a lot of covers that I've seen really spoil that. You know, you see May Parker and fighting Wasp and Havoc, so I mean like that's definitely going to play a big part. His future team, yeah. I hope it's cool, you know what I mean? Like I really have high hopes for this book. But Remender's really jumping the shark with this baby. So, I mean, like, I'm taking it with a grain of salt, but I really hope that he knocks it out of the park because I'm a fan of his, and, you know, I really want this book to be good.
I'm just glad it's at least about the X-Men again. But we are going to take a quick break from the X-Men now to start our end of the show segments with Spiking the Punch.
Oh, yeah! Yeah, man, spike it up.
Spiking the Punch is a segment where Johnny and I each recommend, or at least just bring up, one not-X-Men related comic. And Johnny Alpha, you always lead us off.
Yeah, and I'm spiking with The Fuse from Image Comics, written by Anthony Johnston, talented writer. I actually spiked with another one of his books, The Umbral, recently. And this is actually kind of more how I'm used to his style of writing, because he does Wasteland at Oni Press, which is like a post-apocalyptic sci-fi thing. But this is actually kind of a procedural, buddy cop, crime noir set in a space station. It's really kind of cool. It kind of really reminds me of a 2000 AD strip. It's got this kind of like Judge Dredd meets Prime Suspect feel to it, especially with the older lady cop the German guys teamed with. This kind of starts off with a lot of cop stuff that you're used to. The new guy flies in, you know, he gets partnered with the old-timer cop that's, you know, knows the beat, and like he's kind of learning how to, you know, handle things and how stuff works on this space station that's called the Fuse. And when you see it, you realize why. It actually looks like an old tube fuse. Basically, someone's killing homeless people, and they don't know why. And they're chasing it all around, and like they do some really cool procedural stuff. They show you how CSI and all the tech stuff works in this kind of imagined version of the future. But it's also kind of busted because it's on this crappy space station where they don't have the budget like they do down on Earth. So this German cop guy, he's actually like having to learn to slow his beat a little bit on this. So it's really cool to show that he's that kind of a fish out of water. And basically in this one, you get a lot of runaround, you get a lot of flack, and you basically end up finding out the Rasta man bum that gets killed at the beginning of the first issue is our intrepid mayor's brother. And this mayor, he's kind of like this really shady character, crazy regime that he's trying to push forward, and he's got a very close election, so he doesn't want this tarnishing his name, but they're playing him like he's too dirty already, and anybody that reads noir knows that when they do that, he's innocent. So I mean, like, I really am just so into this book, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here.
So it's kind of like Deep Space Nine if the whole show was always about Odo solving cases as the constable. Loose TV metaphor.
There's a lot of really cool stuff that will remind you of other things. Like I said, this has got like flares from, I'm pretty sure people might pull a Babylon 5 or a Deep Space Nine kind of feel out of it because of the space station. But I mean, like, this is just a really fun, like, crazy little sci-fi noir comic.
And then, like, the classes of people, that's all set up by, say, I think it's like what level of the station you live on, like 20 and below are like the poor people and shit. The higher up the levels on the station, that's where, like, the nicer people live.
Yeah, pretty much set up kind of like Mega City 1 and Judge Dredd. Your stasis in life says where you live, and yeah, that's basically what she tells him because he's new there and he just went ahead and took the assigned living quarters, and yeah, he's like in level 36, and that's what the chick cop tells him, man. You got to try to move out as soon as you can because anything under 20 is like a total shithole, bro.
I didn't even know she was supposed to be an old female cop until, I mean, someone just basically came out and said it. But the way she's drawn, it's kind of like a lot of the characters are actually look kind of gender neutral almost. I don't know if you got that sense at all.
Yeah, I didn't know she was supposed to be old until, it was third or fourth page of the first book where the guy says, well, I didn't expect my new partner to look like she's ready for retirement. And I was just like, okay, I guess being that pale white means you're old with this artist, but, you know, art doesn't really bug me, especially when there's a good story to read, but I do wish that this guy would throw a little more detail maybe into the characters.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if maybe she was supposed to be like an alien, like from an alien race, and that's why she looked kind of different. I mean, maybe it's like diverse and cool and interesting that the partner cop is like an old female who's been working the beat for a while. I don't know, but you used that word procedural a couple times, and that was really the sense that I got of it too. They really do take you through the steps and pacing out the clues and, you know, looking at the technology and stuff. Because that does involve a lot of, like, talking and a lot of dialogue, which can be boring for some people. I don't know. I mean, I really got into it. Like, I really liked all that detective procedural stuff. I mean, I don't normally watch, like, CSI shows and shit like that, but I was so into it. I was, like, celebrating when they had that aha moment, and they're like, yes, we have a theory now.
Right, yeah, where they actually click and start, totally working together, and when they figure out the scenario, I thought that was a really cool moment too. I guess people that only like action superhero comics won't be into it, but like if you read noir or like detective comics, usually I don't see how this will be any different than like reading Sin City or something like that, really.
Yeah, man, it's all in there, like detective work, conspiracy theories, political intrigue, and secrets and lies, and misdirection, and the corruption, but then all tied into kind of like not kind of like it is, like, tied into a sci-fi backdrop, which is the kind of thing that you can bring brilliantly to life in comics, which is just like kind of like, saying like, support the medium, because like on TV or movies, that shit might be too expensive, and a novel, you don't get the graphic end of it where you can see these things drawn. Like, that's one of the beauties of the things that you can do with comics, even if it's not about, like, capes.
Right. And I mean, like, novels, I like a lot of sci-fi guys. I like Isaac Asimov, I'm a fan of his, but I have a hard time with him because he gets too into explaining things. I mean, like, he's got like 5 paragraphs to explain to you what shade blue the girl's eyes is, and I'm just like, you just say that they're like light blue, for fuck's sake, man. I don't need metaphors of pools of water with little fish and stuff to make flecks in it and stuff, you know what I mean? Like, you're going too crazy with this, man, you know what I mean? In a comic, it's kind of just, they cut a lot of that stuff out and you get the details drawn for you.
And you get to see them in, well, I mean, depending on the artist, but you get to see them in beautiful, beautiful visual artwork. Which some people tell me sometimes they think that, like, the visual end of the comic doesn't get enough respect or enough time in some reviews, but I mean, if you're talking about what happened to the story at all, how can you not be talking about the art? Because otherwise you wouldn't have seen what happened.
What they're crying about is the days of the super artists are over. Like, when we were kids, nobody really cared about who wrote the book. It was all like, ooh, J. Scott Campbell drew this, or Lee Field drew this, Jim Lee drew this, and like, nobody really, like, put any emphasis on writers. And that kind of really backlashed really big when, like, all that stuff went out the window. And now everybody kind of like, oh, this guy wrote it, so it's got to be. And that's how I pick my books. I don't really care about the art. I see Warren Ellis wrote something. It could have Ben Templesmith, who I hate his art, but I will buy and read the shit out of it if it's a Warren Ellis comic.
Right, so just kind of trends, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, thanks for bringing this one up. Because I remember I read a review of the first one and thought, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Might put that on my check it out list. Then completely forgot about the fucking thing until you brought it up now. And for me this week, I'm bringing up Clockwork Angels #1 from Boom Studios. And man, I really almost skipped this one because of the solicits. Because it's one of those ones where before it tries to tell you what it's about, they kind of just prattle on about, creative versatility and the genius of Rush and things like that. I mean, I don't know, I get that it's supposed to be an ad, but you can only toot your own horn so much before it kind of makes me groan. Wow, that didn't sound dirty at all. But anyway, so Boom...
The band Rush?
Yeah, the band Rush. Boom has this new habit lately of publishing comics based on ideas from minor to moderate celebrities. Like Protocol Orphans was from that guy from Twilight, and then there's something called Hacktivist that has Alyssa Milano's name on it. And what you've got here is Neil Peart with a writing credit, the drummer from Rush.
Oh, God, there is no fucking drummer better than Neil Peart!
It ain't easy being cheesy.
Like, the way it's all played out, Clockwork Angels was a concept album from the band Rush when they're making a bit of a comeback, and then Kevin J. Anderson worked with them for a novelization of those themes. They turned it into a full-on book. And then now the novel is making its way to comic book form.
If I knew this was Rush, I'd have give you shit for making me read it.
And yeah, that's actually the whole rushing is kind of one of the reasons I was going to be like, yeah, whatever, like, I'm not going to read this, even though I read most of what Boom puts out, especially new #1s. But Kevin J. Anderson's name is kind of what still got me on board. Because I remember he did the Jedi Academy trilogy, which was some of my favorite books back when I used to read Star Wars Expanded Universe, and also the Last Days of Krypton novel, which, well, I mean, I think the name of that pretty much explains what it is.
That's about the Green Lantern, right?
Yeah, obviously. And of course, Clockwork Angels is lettered by the Duke, because Ed Dukeshire letters like almost every Boom Studios book. That dude must just be such a fucking workhorse, man. But to make a movie comparison and talking about the book, it's almost kind of like Pleasantville slightly in a way, where everyone lives this idealistic, perfect, but unadventurous life. Everything goes right all the time, because it's all controlled. Literally, the watchmaker who lords over all creation, like, this guy even controls down to the minute when it rains. You know, our main character, Owen, he's got it all. He's got a pleasant little life with a mildly important but well-respected job. He's about to get married to a healthy female of breeding age where he can live out his quaint little life on the apple orchard, drinking hard cider on the porch, and etc., etc. But of course, he's a dreamer, and no one else will let him have any bit of fun outside of the plans. So one night when he tries to do one, like, mildly adventurous thing and gets blown off again, he's just kind of like, screw it, and he jumps onto a train with a mysterious stranger. I guess Clockwork Angels is kind of like a steampunk kind of thing. Like, everything's all old and timey-wimey looking.
All the gears and stuff really kind of, like, drive it home that it's a steampunk comic. But
well, yeah, it's literally got Clockworks in the name.
But yeah, I mean, I really, really love the hand-painted art style in this, man. Really just a gorgeous book to look at.
Yeah, man, that's probably the most striking thing to me about it, too, is just, you know, I flipped through it even without reading it a couple times afterwards. Like, all the soft, warm colors with just a bit of a hint of glow from that cold fire made-up shit that basically powers everything. The book itself just, I mean, every page looks like a painting. You know, it's got that kind of look to it. And it basically just does what a first issue does. It sets your background for what's basically going to be a coming-of-age tale. It does a little bit of world building, so you kind of understand how things work. One thing I thought you might have kind of liked about it was it brings in that rebellion element. Because in the background, kind of talked about but not seen yet, you've got soldiers and war, and, you know, like I said, this watchmaker guy, he controls everything. So, of course, he's got a complete and polar opposite called the anarchist, who's opposing all this perfect order, and he like blows up their shipments of stuff and, you know, creates all sorts of mayhem. And I guess that might be the guy that was on the train with this guy. I almost kind of get the sense that it's one of those Matrix kind of deals, like with the Oracle and the Architect, where they built this world together, but now they're opposing each other for some reason.
I suppose. And I mean, I didn't want to give off the feeling that I didn't like this. So I actually really loved this comic. I just didn't know it had anything to do with Rush. I mean, I didn't know they were that talented to come up with even a story like this. I'm not a fan of that band. So I was joking around about that. But I mean, like, hell, dude, this was great. I really like that steampunk is actually kind of being accepted as an art form, and like it's actually kind of being accessible to more people now, and like it's being used to tell more common type of stories. And I kind of really got this almost Hobbit type feel about this guy. He almost reminded me of Bilbo, you know what I mean, in a way. And I really kind of enjoyed that aspect of it, but it's also got its own thing going on. I really hope it doesn't turn out to be like those horrible Matrix movies. I hope you're wrong about that, but it's gorgeous to look at. It's a story that you've probably heard before, you know, where it's kind of going, at least at this point, but what the hell, man, that art just goes ahead and drives it home, you know, in a way that you haven't seen it before. And yeah, man, this is a fun, like, weird fantasy sci-fi little jaunt that you're going to go on with this guy. And yeah, it's going to be kind of crazy because he's stuck in a crux between two extremes. You know, like you said, there's the anarchist and the clockmaker, which is this guy's going to probably screw up and probably have to redeem himself in this story. And I don't know. I'm going to be along for that ride because this is fun. This is a good comic, and whether it's related to Rush or not, you should read this. I mean, whether you're a fan of Rush or not, too.
Yeah, I really don't know how the whole Rush thing, how that all works out. I mean, I haven't listened to the Clockwork Angels album, and I don't really think I'm about to. So, I mean...
no, Geddy Lee's voice just gets on my nerves. He's so squeaky, man.
And I'll bet you every single song on the album sounds like almost exactly the same.
Yeah, it's because it's Rush, man. They got like one sound, really heavy bass and vocals.
I mean, maybe I'd read the novel someday. I don't know. I mean, I guess they kind of take some of the lyrics. I mean, it's a concept album, so it's got a little bit of a narrative behind it. I mean, if anything, I think one of the nitpicks is that at times, some of the dialogue, for lack of a better word, doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, it feels real forced the way they talk to each other sometimes, and I get the impression that they took direct phrases out of the lyrics and tried to make the characters say them to relate to it. Like, you know, I can't stop dreaming and stuff like that. I feel like that was just put in there for that effect. But yeah, man, there's a lot of elements at play here that I really like, and even though we just kind of were talking about how, like, writing was more your thing, it's like the visual art just really is what drives this book home and is really, like, a big, big part of the selling point.
Right. And I mean, like, there's got to be books where it's like that. I mean, I have a few where, like, I really don't care about how it's written. I just like the way it looks. I mean, that's what got me into Carbon Gray and a few of my favorite books. You know, I had no idea who Hogue Nguyen and them guys were before I picked it up. I just looked at it, flipped through it in the store, and it's like, man, this fucking book looks incredible. Took it home, and then I got into it, you know what I mean? So, like, you don't have to know every writer on site, you know what I mean? You always can learn about another one, you know?
And man, I am on a roll with my segues tonight, because speaking of looking incredible, we're going to move on now to the sexiest moment of the week.
Oh my.
Oh my.
And Johnny, what do you got for me?
I'm going to have to go with Magic when she wigs out and just busts her spell to take out those Sentinels. Man, that was just badass out of nowhere, and, like, I don't know, it was very sexy.
Oh man, you're trying to steal my girl from me this week.
I was going to try to go with Tempest, but I don't know how old she's supposed to be, and I don't want to seem creepy, you know, so.
Well, I mean, she's older now that she's been in that time thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're drawing her like she's aged a few years, so, I mean.
And I mean, not to make a really bad pun, but, I mean, even before that, she was kind of on the bubble, as far as age, I think. So, I mean, like, remember when we first met her, she was talking about partying and going out to the club and stuff?
Yeah, and most of these kids that Cyclops has been bringing in, they're all college age anyways, so.
Yeah, like, they're all, like, 18, 19, like, community college kind of age, shit like that. I mean, Jesus Christ, man, if they draw Tempest's skirt any shorter, then she better be. Because if she isn't, then they're gonna have to, like, be taken into jail for producing child porn.
Right. I mean, like, that thing.
If that were to do.
That thing barely covers, like, the bottom of her butt.
And sometimes it even doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, and for me this week, I'm going to X-Men number 12 for the first reintroduction of Madeline Pryor. They build it up so nicely with just small panels of her in a towel, not 100% letting you see who it is, and then bam, a striky, cleavagey redhead right in your face. Gotta love it.
Nice.
How about, okay, I want to do one or two more. Let's do Pity the Fool.
I pity the fool!
Alright, this week, dude, I pity Dazzler, man. I mean, she's definitely made a bad career choice, but I don't think that really means that she needs to be tied to a bed and have all these track marks in her arm and, like, have her face all taped up. I mean, like, when she gets rescued, she's gonna look haggard like Courtney Love, man, and, like, Dazzler's hot, you know? I really just pity her.
Yeah, man, they even made a little extra sad with, you know, after Mystique pulls that, like, giant, comedically oversized needle out of her that she must have gotten from X2. Poor Dazzler's even like, ow!
Yeah, ow!
And man, for me, this week, I pity poor Hellion.
Pity the fool.
Subjugated and objectified by women just for his body mass appeal. Every ex-girl just trying to get him in his shorts. I mean, this poor man just being looked on as nothing but packages of hard-toned meat. Wait, did I just do, like, an entire segment on boobs? I guess I'll shut up now. Let's end the episode with Too Cool for School.
You think you're too cool for school?
Alright, and for me, dude, Too Cool for School would have to go to Maria Hill and her just matter-of-factness with her torture of poor Hijack, man. I mean, her whole, I know he's messing with us. I know that, like, we're supposed to have this conversation, so we have to. We have to. So you have to tell me where he is, or I'm going to spank you, man. I was just like, I want to be Hijack. So Maria Hill, she is too cool for school.
Yeah, man, she went bad cop and bad cop on him. Me, I got to give it to Maddie. She never even joins Arkea's little group. Madeline Pryor was just like, yeah, Celine might have kneeled before you, but I'm going to start my own sisterhood, I guess, and just calmly walks off panel, not a care in the world. Too cool for school, Madeline Pryor.
Yeah, that was pretty gangster, man.
And that does it for this edition of the All About X-Men Comics podcast. Don't forget, our social media home is facebook.com/allaboutxmen comics podcast. Hit us up there, otherwise we'll see you next time you decide to hit play.